to sign off. Throughout this, if you have a question, please type it in the chat. I'm going to monitor it as we go and try and bring the questions into topics if it makes sense as we talk. But don't worry, because at the end, we're going to do a completely open space for FAQ and other questions, so you'll have time then. Let's see, what else? I'll be sending the recording out later, so everyone that's on here now will be able to see it. I know a lot of people couldn't make it because I just got some messages because of practice or games rescheduled. So that's pretty much it. So agenda for this evening or afternoon or morning. So first, I'm going to do a brief background on myself. Then I'm going to introduce the 3 expert guests I brought on today. Then we'll jump into some topics for education. And then just do a little bit of a roundtable on each topic. And we'll have some questions at the end. And hopefully you'll be able to leave here learning something new, because I know I will. Ready to roll? Alrighty, so just real briefly on me, I like to give a bit of a 30,000-foot view lens on my life for some people that have not or not as familiar, because I've been in many of your shoes, not all, but from player to coach to agent to immersing myself in international cultures. So I always like to give a little bit of a background about where I've been, just to add some context to what we're going to talk about today. So I grew up in New Jersey. I was a 3-year varsity starter in high school. With college basketball dreams, like most of us. I was recruited by some local Division III schools, but it didn't end up being what I was looking for. And I had the chance to go to a great academic school and walk on. And so that's a chance I took. So I played for 4 years at Quinnipiac University, Division I basketball under Coach Tom Moore. I scored a electrifying 7 career points, which made me realize I was not playing at the next level. But I still wanted to be involved somehow. So my first job out of school was at a company called Gazelle Group, where we produced and managed college basketball events. And then after about 3 years, I wanted to go from the event management side to the talent management side. And I jumped on with a company called Summit Sports Group out in California to get my feet wet and just learn the ropes a little bit there. During that time, they had signed Wayne Selden, so I got to go through the pre-draft process and really just track a lot of their international players. And then I parted ways with them after about a year because I had the opportunity to immerse myself in Europe and get a master's degree from the EuroLeague Basketball Institute, which partnered with Ca' Foscari University in Mauro's lovely hometown of Venezia, Italy. And so I just started immersing myself in cultures there. I was a working master's, so I jumped around from country to country, shaking hands and just trying to learn as much as I could. Came back home and I figured I would reach out to some other agencies and figured I'd get a job at a bigger agency because I now had traveled to Europe and I knew everyone and everything, but it was crickets. So I wrote a handwritten letter to 50 agents across USA and didn't get a single response. So instead of crying over it, I just kind of jumped off a deep end and started Kreation Talent Agency. And I started with this big vision to represent players and do brand partnerships and represent coaches. And I dabbled in a little bit of all the above, but now I currently only manage athletes, do some other consulting projects in the sports business and sports tech space. So I've been lucky enough to travel to 44 countries. I'm currently in Barcelona, from pro games in Armenia and youth leagues in Hungary to the inaugural East Asia Super League Championship in Japan, to EuroLeague front offices, to Italian Cup games, and everything in between. I'm super grateful for my experiences. I've learned a tremendous amount about the business and honestly about myself as a human being. And one of the best parts is I get to meet amazing people in the business like all of you and people like these 3 guests that know way more than I do. So I know I sped through that, but although I enjoy talking about myself sometimes, the people on this call are more important. So without further ado, let's get to today's guests. I'm going to give a little brief intro on them, which won't do their experience and their careers justice, but then I'm going to give them the floor, obviously, to talk a little bit about themselves. And really quickly, let me just make sure no one else is asking to get in. Okay, I think we're good. So our first guest, Filippo Barozzi. It didn't take long for Filippo to dive into pro basketball. After college, he joined Pallacanestro Reggiana as the team manager in 2012 and has proved a tremendous asset to the club since. He took on the role of chief operations officer in 2016 and was appointed sports director in 2021. He is currently in his 12th year with the club, which is a breath of fresh air because, and it speaks volumes to his impact because positions like these typically have a high turnover. Next is Marco Di Benedetto. Marco began coaching at the youth level before he jumped into the scouting game. He started his scouting at Casale in Serie A 2 and has since held positions at many Serie A clubs, and not just in the scouting department. He served as the director of basketball operations at Torino and Trieste, and most recently served as the GM of Brescia, where he won the Executive of the Year award in 2022. And he now heads the scouting department and has a consulting role, which we'll hear about shortly. And last but definitely not least, Mauro Sartori, he's definitely the most skilled basketball player out of everyone on this call. Mauro played for almost 15 teams, I believe, throughout his playing career, mostly in Italy. I believe a quick stint in Germany. And he officially joined Venezia in 2013. So similar to Filippo, he's a rare case of someone who has continuously grown in his role in the same club and has put in more than a decade of impact there. So after about 5 minutes, it's time for me to completely shut up and give the stage to our guests. First up for the round table, I just want to give the floor to these three. Maybe each of you can start one at a time, and just anything that I didn't include, you can feel free to introduce yourself a bit more, and then maybe just get into explaining what your role is currently.
Oh, Marco, do you want to start, or maybe we go?
I start saying the only one serious player among us, obviously, was Mauro. Lucky him. So, and for sure, the common beginning among all of us was the passion. No matter if we were like me or Filippo or Kevin himself, bad players, let's say, or not enough good players. We start with the same passion of Mauro in this business. The goal was for me to try to be involved. To be involved somehow in basketball.
Hold on, Marco. Sorry, I had to. Hold on one sec. I think you're on mute. Okay. I think you're good now.
Yeah, I'm good. Okay.
Yep.
So I'm saying that the goal for sure was trying to stay somehow the same that you say, to stay in the business in basketball and live of basketball. So my main goal from the beginning was try to be a scout, which was something that was written in the books, but I had no idea how it could work. And honestly, even if my first role, as Kevin said, was in Casale in second division in Italy with a great master of me, his name is Marco Crespi, who now runs the youth academy in Trento, was at that time the top manager and president of basketball operation and head coach of Casale. He hired me with the title of scout, but very fairly from day one was something much more about learning to be in the business, which means learning to be in a daily basis organization, try to see how it could be, the structure of a club, try to be aware of the different sections and try to have an idea how the things work on. And yeah, this was my main thing was the beginning, because I always said that I was lucky to have this kind of beginning with somebody who was a master and he teach not just to me but also to other professional now guys all over Italy the work, the job. And this is why I kept to stay in, always try to be relentless against the up and down of this business, which is very weird business. You guys have to know, but I'm sure you know already. So this is the main point to start on.
Great. Filippo.
Okay. I go second. First of all, thanks, Kevin, for the invitation, and thanks to all the people who are here listening to us. And please, Kevin, let me know where do I have to send my invoice, because you put a photo, a pic of me 5 years ago and maybe 15 pounds ago. So I have to thank you, send the invoice, and I will pay. Thank you so much. First of all, what to say? It's my 12th season in Pallacanestro Reggiana. It's not a unique case. Mauro is another case, but it's not so easy, you know, for a manager in this business to stay in the same club for so many seasons. This doesn't mean I want to end up my career only in Pallacanestro Reggiana. I didn't have right now so far the opportunity to go out, but it's kind of an honor to have started as a trainee with a 3-month contract, and then growing up and becoming who I am now. Okay, nothing special. I know I still have to learn and grow a lot, but it's still something. First of all, I was not a basketball player at all. I've never played basketball in my career. I was a soccer player. For a couple of seasons, I was even a professional soccer player. I was a goalkeeper in Sassuolo Calcio. Organization is in Serie A, in the main league in Italian soccer. And so the transition was quite difficult at the beginning, not because it was a lacking of passion about basketball, but I spent many and many years studying, growing and learning to reach, you know, a certain level which can be compared to the other manager who are professional and were like colleagues. In my role, job description is like a sport director, but we will talk about this maybe later. Especially in Italy, in Europe, your job description is just something written on a business card, but not at all what you are doing daily basis. I mean, I'm like I could say I'm like assistant of our CEO and the general manager, and he's like right hand. So I take care about obviously helping him in building the roster, in scouting, in all what a sport director usually does. But I'm always involved even in operation, daily operation about the team, but also about the club, in marketing, in communication, in finance even. So it's different from maybe a bigger organization in the NBA, in the G League, or even in college. Here structure are smaller and people do a lot of stuff. We don't do like specific tasks every day, same things, but we do every day different things. So this is what I basically do every day. And okay, we will talk later about Italy, about differences between Italian system and European system and American system. And I will be available for any question you have. And thank you again for your attention and your patience, especially.
Great. Mauro.
Okay. Hi, guys. Thank you for having me here, Kevin. And I really appreciate your invitation. And so my story is a little bit longer, but you know, since I'm the oldest one, so that's the reason why. Now, I play professional since when I was 17 till 39 years old. I include professional, also the few seasons spent in third league, especially with Venice, the last 2 seasons. I've been lucky because I started playing basketball when I was 11, and you know, keep playing till 39 is a long path, and always doing what I love. So obviously, I have to say that I've been lucky, and I kept to be lucky when I decided to quit playing basketball, and I had a little, let's say, little promise from my former team in Venice. When you quit, you can come back here and we talk about the future. Okay, that happened to somebody else in the past, and I didn't exactly know what was going to do, because you know, when you play basketball, sometimes you don't really realize what the people around the organization do for you daily basis. You know, You just playing basketball, you're always ready to complain. Or you joke or you complain, about everything. But when you go, you jump on the other side of the desk, then you start to see how many things are going to be done during the day, not just to push the organization ahead, but also for the single player every day. They don't really realize that, since that maybe something bad happened, and they see you getting mad, or how you have to work with them in difficult situation, So I agree with with my two colleagues, our position, or better, this is the way I see our position. You can say GM, sport director, assistant GM, whatever you want to say, is a little bit different, because I see that every one of us gotta be ready to do a little bit of everything, okay, on daily basis, and then of course, if you are ambitious, probably you can get higher when you find the right chance to move, maybe from your actually organization, like me and Philo are lasting here since long time, and maybe we will die here, or maybe we will have a chance to go in EuroLeague one year. I don't know, who knows that. I think that even if I'm older than my colleague, because actually I'm older, but I think that we still have in common the passion for this job, the passion for the sport that we're following every day, and you gotta be ambitious. You gotta hope that something happen, or work hard every day in order that something happen. So my position, I'm sport director, and I stand next to the team every day, next to the GM. We take care also about the youth program. We just started last season, something that also the main team in Europe already doing, like the Rare Euro project. We try to find, some good talent around Europe, but we want to do it in the right way, without going there, and let's say stealing young player, promising something that we cannot give back, and also really, I think that for an organization like us, they want to improve. They are looking forward to have the new venue in 3 seasons. We need to be ready to learn. We don't, just because we play in first league, a European competition, we are not done yet. We gotta be always ready to learn something new, to be open, to say, okay, we did like this till now, but let's see, maybe the other small club over there in whatever, in Hungary, in whatever, in other country, they're doing this thing maybe better than now. Let's talk to them and learn something new. This is also the one of the tasks that push us to start this new project. Okay, so I was involved in the scouting. Actually, I'm the head of the scouting department in the team. I always talking with the staff to see what's their need, what they think. Already now in January, they already think about next season. So you gotta be ready to already now to have some kind of answer to their question. Because you cannot just say, okay, I would like this 10 player per position. I will talk about them in May, June. No, we gotta start now to see. And to try to figure out how the market will be in the few months. More or less, that's my job. And I enjoy.
Great, thanks, guys. Yeah, I mean, it seems the common theme here, no matter the title, is that you wear a lot of hats. You all talked a little bit about youth programs and scouting, and even marketing and finance, and next season's roster and new arenas. So obviously the common theme there is wearing many hats. So I want to, before we dive into maybe some of those specific topics, I know we're going to get into scouting and youth development and creating the roster here shortly, but I just want to talk a little bit. Maybe you can start about Italian basketball overview, right? So just the structure of the leagues, just from, I kind of put together this very basic slide, right? I have the domestic and the international. So there are some coaches from the States that are on here that, I know usually when there are listeners from the States, I like to explain it a little bit more in depth when people from Europe are more accustomed to it. But the reason why I'll do a little brief segue here is because I think it's important to emphasize the structure of leagues, how you make it to the league, the talent in the league, because I hear far too often, if I don't make it to the NBA, I'll just go play in Europe, right? And it's like, well, it's not that easy. So for our listeners that are not as familiar with how pro leagues work, very briefly, I'll just give an overview and let these guys explain more about Italy. But there's domestic competitions and there's international competitions, right? So the domestic competitions are essentially the leagues inside a specific country. So in Italy, you have, as you can see the logo here, you have Serie A, you have Serie A 2, which is the second division, and then you have, it gets into the semi-pro, Serie B, Serie C, and so on and so on. And then also, in addition to the domestic, you have the international competitions, which there are many, but obviously we'll talk about this here shortly because each of the guests have experience in playing in various levels of these, either as a player or front office. But the best teams in Italy, the best teams in each country, also play against the best teams of other countries internationally. And again, many competitions, but the main four, let's say, are the Euro League, the Euro Cup, Basketball Champions League, and FIBA Europe Cup. So Italy has 2 teams in each of those, right? So I guess from my segue into the next topics, and you guys can just decide to jump in and kind of explain however you'd like, but I think maybe a little bit of the overview of the structure of Italian basketball, from youth all the way up to the pro leagues, and then we can get into like the differences of Italian basketball to other leagues.
Since, as we say, we have similar hats, but everybody of us has different talent. The guy who has the talent to explain this topic for sure is Filippo.
Thanks, Marco. Don't send me any invoice. Just Kevin can. Okay. Obviously, Serie A is the main league, and 16 teams. Obviously, pro league. So in terms of rules of taxation of contracts, in Italy only officially, and talking about formally, Serie A is the only real professional league. So it means you have like contract, professional contract, you have pension, retirement, and all this stuff, and you pay taxes. You have to know that differently from other European countries, the taxation system in Italy is very strict. For like €1 or $1, let's say net, the gross cost for the company and for the club is like 2.1, 2.2. So it's more than double. And this happened only in Serie A. And this is something we will talk maybe later, is not helping too much in building a roster and in being competitive with other leagues, because maybe you offer a net amount, but the gross amount you pay is really huge. So let's go back. 16 teams, the first 8 teams goes to the playoff, and the 2 last team, they got relegated. This is the first main difference with obviously the US world. We have a relegation over here in Europe, and change everything in terms of planning, in terms of decision, in terms of budget, and changing the budget throughout the seasons. And this is Serie A. In terms of eligibility and roster construction, you can have a couple of formats you can choose for any season. A 10-man roster with 5 imports and 5 Italians, or a 12-man roster with like 6 import and 6 Italian. In the first case, you have 7 visa for the all extra European players. In the second case, with 12-man roster, you have like 8 visa for the extra European player for the whole season. This is another important detail, because right now, so far, most of the teams select the second option, so to have a 12-man roster with 1 import more, because you are by far more competitive, and especially if you play one of these those European competition you show us before, it's kind of mandatory, to have one more import player. But also the control of the visa is very important during the season, because sometimes you have to select a European player, a player with European passport, to save one of this visa and to keep it maybe in case of an injury or in case of a replacement. And this is more or less Serie A overview. Second division is called Serie 2. There are like two groups. I think 14 teams, Marco, are now 14 teams. Obviously, the first 8 goes to the playoff of each group, and then they match up and they mix. And just a couple of teams got promoted, and there are relegation also in second division. Second division is different because you have only 2 imports, and all of the other players are Italian, and only 2 visa. So, for example, if you sign 2 Americans at the beginning of the season, then if you have to replace one of these guys due to bad performances, or maybe due to an injury, you have to replace him with a European player. And formally, second division Serie 2 is not professional. The tax system is different. More or less, if €1 net or $1 net is 1.3 gross for the company, so it's better taxation for the clubs. For the player is good maybe for some Italian guys, because in some top second division club they can earn more than in some low first division club. Not so much for the guys who are going to retire, because after career the pension is not great. And then but okay, I told formally is not professional, but in substance is professional league. All the clubs practice once or twice per day. There are structure with professional coaches, professional strength and conditioning coach, professional physiotherapist. Okay, maybe not so structured like first division team, but quite good level, and even quite good exposure especially for rookies or for young players who wanna have an opportunity to play minutes, to have good stats, and to go to the next level. And then last but not least, Serie B is not a very a big league with exposure, because it's semi-professional. There is only one import player, but must be European. There are no visa for American players, and most of the teams are professional, but the salaries are very low. And in some guys play a kind of dual career, maybe having a part-time job, or maybe some young guys studying and doing university, enrolling in some university or college, and that's the situation. This is more or less the structure. I don't know, Marco or Mauro, if you want to add something. I just made a brief overview about the rules and the situation.
Yeah, I just say, as I said, that you were perfect. You made a great picture.
Good job, Philo.
Yeah, I just want to add, maybe he touched already one of the main points, which is the relegation promotion system. We can go deeper about that. I just want to underline that being relegated for a club in Europe, not just in Italy, everywhere in Europe, means having a sports drama. I don't want to be too much put too much weight on that, but the word drama to me is fair, because change everything. The life of the club, the life of people working there usually, and also the vision of the club change dramatically if the team risk to go down. And this is why always there is lack of program, long-term program, because there is so much uncertain landscape sometimes, you know. So this is one of the points you have to keep in mind. And the other thing I wanna try to help you to know, if you are not familiar with European system, basically, just to finish the picture, the European competition, if you are not familiar, are comparable to for some of you guys who know the NCAA system. It's like playing EuroLeague or Euro Cup or Champions League, different levels. Is the same of being qualified to the final tournament of NCAA or NIT. The only difference is that in NCAA you are qualified for the same season, basically to make you understand better. In Europe, if you deserve to be qualified, you will play the big stage, the European competition, the season after. So this is the main difference, but the comparison, I think, makes sense. Yeah, this is what I can say. I don't know if Mauro has something else.
I think you touched, guys, a good point talking about the relegation, and because this is the reason, or the main reason why professional team or second league team or third league team as well, they get mad when player, let's say, don't perform in the right way, or they take the situation too easy. Because in the States, it's different. You lose a game, okay, you lost a game. But when we lose too many games and we move down, that means lose a lot of money, waste a lot of money, because the season after or 2 seasons after, when you will have the strength to move up again, that means moving from the second league to the first league means something like a fee entry around 650, 700,000 euro, Filo, Marco?
Yeah.
Just to be there, no, beside the budget for player and to cover all the organization expenses. So that's why we get mad, because you go home late in the night, you party too much, you perform bad. That's the reason why we are so strictly, we give you 200 different rules, behavior rules, because we don't really want to control you. We like when the young player comes and then brings also to us also a big smile, you know, something light life somehow. But after a while, we have to go to reality. We gotta win, okay? Or we gotta get safe in the league. Otherwise, the risk is we lose the big sponsor. Big sponsor to us means somebody 200,000-300,000, which is a big amount for somebody, but maybe you risk it to lose a bigger one. So that means that you gotta say, okay, I cannot play next season, guys, because I don't have enough money to pay the entry fee. I don't have enough money to hire the right coaching staff, the right medical staff, which is very important to run a team, you know, a professional team. And that's something that I don't know if they translate or they transfer somehow to the player that come out to the college and they see they have no chance to the NBA or G League, and they say, okay, let's try to the European adventure. Yeah, be ready, and be ready also to understand immediately the reason why we are so not mean and strictly, because we have to be in this way, you know. And another thing, that this is a good point, and this is something about the second league team, also the first one. The second league team, as Philo said, we only have 2 visas, okay? But after the 5th game, for example, in the first league team, if you fire a player, this player can go everywhere, in the first league or in the second league, because he already got his visa. So you don't have to use an extra one, okay? And this is somehow a plus, okay? And for example, now in QZ, we run also second league team in QZ. You know, we had one of the two import got injured for a long time, but we already spent the two visa, so we have to look for a European player that can fit in our budget that we had at in that moment. Okay, and it was not so easy. You know, it was not so easy. But in that same time, in that moment, nobody was has been released. So we couldn't pick up nobody else, you know. So we have to move. Okay, we pick up this guy because we've been lucky because Jonas is a good guy and definitely a great person. We have been lucky too, but sometimes it's a real problem, you know, to get a new player. That's why strategy is also welcome in the second league team, even if they are not professional. But as Filippo say, till third league, fourth league, you are professional for most of the players because they practice every day, most of the time twice, you know. And I say something because I'm old man, and I hope this guy spend or invest some time in studying, you know, because this is something that I really miss now. I'm 54 and I didn't study. I didn't keep going with my studying, and now I regret that, you know. So that's something that I say again. I'm an old man. I have to say that.
Okay.
You say old, and
guys,
we say wise.
Wise.
Yeah, oh, wise. Okay.
Guys, give me just a couple of minutes to add something. We have time to talk about basketball and go into the deep and in details, also technical details about basketball. But I want to talk and connecting to what Marco and Mauro said about business. Okay, I give the example of Reggio Emilia club, but it's more or less the same in each Italian basketball Serie A club. 88% of our income, 88% come from ticketing and sponsorship. This, okay? So differently from like other leagues or other sports, we don't have like big or huge TV income. We don't like sell player like in soccer. So ticketing and sponsorship, 88%. And between 70 and 75% of our expenses are on players and coaches. So this is our, I call like model of business, but it's not not a big business model, no? So for example, if a team got relegated, and this is what Marco and Mauro were talking about before, we risk to cut 50 or 60% of our income immediately. This means 30 or 40% of the people working like in the club risk to lose the job. Okay, so this is why we got mad. And at the end of the day, in Europe is basically in many clubs like this. In the US is different. At the end of the day, when like we do our business plan, profit and losses, we don't make any profit. In European basketball and in Italian basketball especially, you lose money. That's why I always tell like, we don't do business, we do entertainment. Because there are like some shareholders, can be like one single owner, multiple owners, like from 2-3 owners, or even business model with like 50 owners. In Venezia, they have like maybe one single owner. In Reggio, we have 3. In Treviso, for example, they have 50, 60 owner like in Varese. So at the end of the day, these people put money to cover losses. And this is one of the main differences between Italy and US. And so we have to find other reason to go on, to let the show goes on, no? And so this is why we maybe go mad, because relegation doesn't mean only sport pride, it means lose a huge amount of money.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because that's one thing that not a lot of people are familiar with because I don't know what the exact percentage is, but I would, if I had to guess, it's probably 85 to 90% of all professional basketball teams abroad make $0 or lose money. Maybe I don't know if that's a little high, but there are very few teams that have a profitable business structure to where they make a profit. Which is crazy for people coming from the American market because it's just very different. So I'm glad you touched on that. So let's shift a little bit to style of play, on court style. I know Marco and I have had a lot of conversations about this. I know you guys have talked with each other about it, but can you maybe and you can each give maybe your own twist, but style of play in Italy versus anywhere else you can compare to wherever else. I mean, the example that I usually give is just, NCAA or USA is a lot more of, generally speaking, one-on-one play. You have the ball in your hands a lot versus, generally speaking, abroad in Europe, you have to make the extra pass. It's a little bit more fundamental. So can you dive into that a little bit? And maybe Marco, you can start just because I know we've talked about it, and then each of you can have your touch on the style of play in Italy. And maybe actually, Mauro, you can touch on the international competition style of play too, since you guys are in the cup.
So my point is, first of all, you guys know perfectly. I'm sure the guys who are listening know that from G League and the NCAA or NBA, there are huge differences too. So I don't want to be too simple. I can say that obviously overall FIBA is more about team game oriented because historically because of lack of talent, because in the NBA there always have been in the past big amount of talent which was enough to allow the team to give the ball to their stars and play their favorite game, and that was enough to produce good basketball. In Europe, back in the days, I'm talking about the 60s, the 70s, the talent was not enough, and we learned the game from the States, but we have to translate in our gym. And we had not the know-how and even the chance to play in the streets was not always the same. So I don't want to be like historically too deep about that, but I can say that that in FIBA basketball there is more team-oriented, share the ball game. In Europe itself, you can find differences though, because every league has some details which is different from any other league, and this is useful for coaches who want to go to work in Europe, or obviously young kids who want to come to play in Europe. I can say that if you can find, depending obviously from the athletes you have, you can find big athleticism, for example, in France, and depending on that, the first and even second league in France are more comparable to G League than any other league in Europe. Talking about Italy, I could say, and then Mauro and Filippo will confirm, I think, this point, is pretty much even similar to EuroLeague, is a coaches league. What I mean, very oriented to X and O's and preparation of the game, preparing the game against the next opponent team, even sometimes too much. Lately, we have an interesting, fresh energy from abroad coaches, including the coach in Venice and the coach in Reggio Emilia. Very experienced, will bring something else to Italian league. But talking overall, for sure, the preparation and the study of the next opponent, and if you have the chance to to work in the gym without any European competition. The repetition of how you want to play against the next opponent in the weekend is something that is like a brand mark for sure to me. Yeah, and the other point I want to say is that depending of the local domestic players you have, your league will change. This is why Italian is tactical, because I think overall the Italian players are good IQ players, even if we are not the best athletes you can find in Europe. And this is my point. The main picture is this to me.
Mauro, as a former player, what do you think?
I think that, as Marco said, we sometime or most of the time we are really preparing the game too much. You know, they are so worried about what the opponents will do that we study all the details. He's going there. You gotta do this. You gotta do this. That sometime if on their offensive game they change one move, you lost, because for the player sometimes is not so positive to know what the opponents will do, because you prepare for this moment. You get lost on the action, you know. Sometimes would be good just to prepare the player, or to remind what is or what are the basic rules on defense, for example, okay? Without letting know all the details, deeply details, like he's going there, follow here, you know. Defense has to gotta have rules. Every team defends their own way. You are gotta have 3 rules, 4 rules. They gotta be all the same, and you gotta be ready on that. You know, sometimes when you are too much prepared, you're gonna make some mistakes. And you know, even if you spend so much time, sometimes looks like the player likes to challenge the opponents. You know that this player is a shooter. He's running the screen unbelievable way, but still you give him the chance to use the screen and the speed that he wants, and you say, okay, show me that you can score. You know, that's what looks like sometimes. But the difference of the league, as Marco say, okay, NBA, G League, NCAA, is sometimes looks like a different sport, actually. You know, we've been with Marco in Orlando less than a month ago, and you know, the speed that this guy plays are unbelievable compared to European game, you know. And many or most of them are good players, of course, but transfer their skills in the way they play now into Europe won't grant them to be a good player. And sometimes this is a point that you have to explain to them, you know, because they take it too easy. You know? I'm going to Europe, I do this, that, and I will be good. No, because as Marco said, we are. I don't want to say too organized or organized too good, you know, but the way we act is different. So you gotta be ready to practice more, probably something that you are not used to, and play in a different way, maybe slower pace, but more organized. You know, some players with a huge talent, when they come to Europe, they fail because they are not able to be in or to be part of a strictly system where you have to share the ball more, you have to do this, you have to do that. You know, they like to play catch and shoot, running high speed, play one-on-one, go for their own pet, you know, without thinking in the same way that the other teammates thinks, you know. So that means to be in 2 different pages, you know. And in Europe, I don't know. Yeah, it's true. Every country has a different kind of game. Probably something that shine up in my mind is probably the Spanish league plays much different than the other. I think the Spanish game is the one that I prefer, is more, how you say, mamma mia, come si dice frizzante in inglese?
Sparkling.
Sparkling.
is nice to see, you know, a lot of energy. They play easy. They really look like they really enjoy to play, you know. They just, sometimes it looks like they only have some idea that they have to develop during the game, you know. And they play with their fundamental, you know, give and go, backdoor, you know, all this kind of easy thing that you learn since when you are 10 years old, 11 years old, but when you grow up, sometimes you forget to play, you know, and you stay stuck in the game, in the set play, 200 different set play, flash up, flash down, flash side, you know, and it's difficult to remember all of that, you know, and also the physicality of the league. Maybe, you know, in France they're very physical, from what I learned, you know, but also Germany is a great league, in my opinion. You know, I really like to watch them during the season, also because I spent 3 seasons there in Germany, and but still I really love it. Loved the way they improve in the last 20 years, you know, because I've seen a lot of improvement. Yeah, I tell you, because I say that because when I played there, oh my God.
Yes.
Okay, because when I did play there, I used to play in. I moved from Berlino with a new venue, 7 different different gym, school gym, where some other team plays, you know. And now when they changed the rules like 10, 12 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, you know, when they say, okay, rules is you gotta have this kind of venue, this kind of people, gotta work in the business, in the organization, you gotta have a youth project, all this kind of stuff. They really improve a lot, you know. And this is kind of a example that I really like to follow. You know, I always say, why don't we do like this? Because some time or too many times we talk about why our movement, basketball Italian movement get better. You know, sometimes would be easy or not so easy anyway, but we should take a look to somebody else who succeed in improving their movement. Okay. And what else, guys? Internationally is okay. Beside EuroLeague, where you find the top player, you know, top domestic player, top import player, different rules. Because, for example, another rules, I don't know if there is still for who plays in EuroLeague can have like 1 or 2 extra visa.
One.
Still this 1 extra visa. Okay.
Yeah,
so
one extra visa, but only if the player is registered for EuroLeague only and not for the domestic competition.
Exactly, but then, you know, that's a plus. Okay, that's a plus. And but you know, Euro Cup is a pretty good level, you know. But I like also Basketball Champions League. I think there is a very good level of basketball, very good level of organization, also as a Basketball Champions League as well, and they have a pretty good team in the league. You know, somebody from Euro Cup moved to BCL because of, I don't know, for their reason, but you know, they increase the level of the competition. And also FIBA Euro Cup is not bad. Maybe the team are a little bit sometimes less organization, less known organization, okay? But as I say, when we played the FIBA Europe Cup and we won 7 years ago, I say you always gotta go there and win, you know, because sometimes it's easy to say I don't want to play FIBA Europe Cup because the level is low. I have to play against this Irish team or whatever, or Dutch team. Who knows? How can we get there? By fly, by bus? Oh man, it's too far away.
we are better team. Yeah, you always have to go there and win. And sometimes it happened also to us. We lost a couple of times with the, one with the Hungary team and one from Holland, So and everybody was shocked. So the level, I think the level is pretty high everywhere, because you find very good player around Europe, good domestic player, and also good imports. That's the reason why we scout every league. Okay, that's the reason why we scout every country. It's nice to find something new, somebody new, some underdog, as you say. Some young kid that if you don't find him out, if you don't take it to a better level, maybe we're stuck there forever. And this is the very nice part that I like from our job.
Okay, my side, basically Marco and Mauro gave a good overview. When Kevin first asked the question about the style of play and the league, I was thinking Italian league, tactical and organized. So Marco already highlight this. But in the last 12 seasons, since when I started working in this business, it's, in my opinion, it's changing season by season, and there is an overseas and a US influence because the league, I love data analytics, so I work a lot on numbers, and the pace of the league is growing season by season. Now Italian league is kind of a fast-paced league. It's an open league because, as we said before, we have like 5 foreign coaches and 3 foreign managers. And this for me is a plus for the league because, okay, another guy from outside can maybe get my job, but is bringing to the league something, some fresh air. And maybe for the same reason, I can go abroad to have a job in another country. So this change for me is very good for the league. Talking again about basketball, apart from the pace, in my opinion, Italian league is a league of pick and roll. Sometimes there is even a pick and roll abuse. It's like this in most part of Europe, but especially in Italy. So this means 2 things. In offense, is a league of handler, because as more as you can play pick and roll situation, as more you can fit into the league. And in defense, we always talk about offense, but in defense, we look for players who can play multiple defense, especially in pick and roll situation, because we are very tactical. Marco and Mauro underlined this. We go into the details. If this player play pick and roll, you do this. If this other player on this situation, you do that. So players who can hedge or be aggressive. Player who can play high flat, drop, ice, switch. All these kind of defenses are required to play in Europe, and also adaptation and understanding on which opponent you are facing, because you need to be able many times to change and switch defense. I'm thinking about example, coach of Brescia, Alessandro Magro. Marco, you can confirm. You go into the details, you change defense, you play zone, you play matchup, you play a lot of stuff. And so this is very important. This pick and roll abuse force player to be ready both in offense and in defense to do multiple things.
That was great. Yeah, I mean, I think you guys really dove deep on all the different, from analytics to style of play. I mean, I think in general, especially that last point when you talk about the pick and roll, like in the States growing up, it goes back down to youth levels and AAU. It's like in order to get to the top in the States or to be seen or exposure, you need to do something electrifying. And that usually means either shooting every time and scoring the most, or going off the dribble, or going to dunk it and getting the highlight. That's just kind of the way that it's built. And I think sometimes that hurts players in the end if they end up abroad, because they're not really used to shining in having the most assists or getting the extra pass, you know? So I'm glad you guys touched on that stuff. I know, by the way, I know if some people might have to drop off. Any of my guests, if you had something, feel free to drop off. I know we're going a little bit over an hour here. I have plenty of time to stay for a little bit more. I know we talked about some of this stuff already, but just kind of shifting a little bit to strategy and roster construction. And, you know, I think if there's anything specific on here that you want to talk about, you know, I'd love to continue with some of these topics. I know also I'd love to have some questions. I have some questions that people wrote in. I mean, it's up to you guys. Do you see any topic on here that you want to dive into now? Do you want to maybe open up for a few questions if somebody wants to ask a question now?
Yeah, go ahead with questions. We can make them more interested, maybe.
Even because we already talked about import versus domestic player and the rules,
sure.
and we also talk about the relegation promotion impact strategy. Maybe a brief overview about what league we follow the most, and then we can go with questions. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, sounds good.
Scouts first.
We follow everything. No, I'm joking.
No.
I think I have my database, like Mauro and Filippo. Everybody of us has his own database. I just want to say that Europe is an enormous, huge sea where you can find everything, different levels. Something like college basketball, the different of conferences is the same of in Europe, different of domestic leagues. It can be huge. For sure, there are always the first 4 or 5 domestic leagues, which is Italian, Spanish, Turkish, French, German league.
Was VTB before war?
Yeah, the VTB, the former Russia, former Soviet countries league was huge before the war. Now is kind of different. Israeli league was very interesting. Now we'll see how we land. But to give you an example, out of the smaller league, which are always interesting as entry level for rookie, like Polish league, BNXT league, Belgium and Netherlands, for example, or some even second division, like second division in France, second division in Italy, second division in Spain or Germany. Anyway, smaller leagues are interesting too. The other thing that we are pushed to do in the last 2-3 years is, for example, follow Australia. Australia is big, getting bigger than European leagues in terms of money, in terms of gyms, in terms of vibes sometimes. So we have to follow the players there because they can straight go from probably Australia to middle high level in Europe, probably straight to Euro Cup or even more. So yeah, we try to watch a lot, and domestic leagues, European competition for sure during the week help the scouting work, because you can find interesting matchup between the different leagues, and so yeah, that's a crucial moment.
I want to add just 2 leagues. Okay, Germany, the first, as it's well organized and growing up since years, as Mauro said before. Like middle league, I think Romania league is growing up very well, and as entry level, I really like Finnish league. I think is in Finnish market you can find very good prospect, and it's very good league entry level in Europe. Most of them finish in Bundesliga the second season, so in Germany. But I think if we could be a little bit more brave as Italian manager, we could make a lot of good deals and cheap deal.
yeah, let's say that more or less we have to take a look to world Europe and World War. I mean, because every country could be, let's say, able to kick a new prospect, a new good player. So you got to be ready to invest some time and take a look around. Okay. Obviously, the main leagues are the one that you look, you study daily, including Australia, because they have a big budget. They invest a lot of money on the imports, you know, and most of the time they bring there the player that you thought to follow in Europe somewhere, maybe in Europe Cup, but then you know they sign good contract over there, so they move over there. But as Philo say, and let's say the middle, low level country like Finland, you know, I found a good player also in Switzerland last summer. You know, I was checking somebody for QZ, and this kid signed, okay, let's say signing Scafati, and then he moved to BCL in VF Riga. Okay, so beside the main country, you have to be ready to check out everything, okay, and really be active daily. And beside also the events that we have to attend during the season, like showcase, PIT tournament, summer league, and you know, I wish to have more time to travel more and go around, because you never know you can find it to the next store. You know? So, and as Marco say, but I take it as I say just to enjoy, but still is work to follow the Euro Cup where we don't play, or the day before, the day after our game. You know, Euro Cup, BCL, and of course EuroLeague. You watch those games with a different high, but still, you know, after a while you say, okay, I like this guy. I gotta take note. I gotta remember something about him. Tomorrow I will go deep on him. You know, we always working, okay, because you like your job, the passion, and you can do different. And this job cannot be done differently. You know, this you're always on stage. That's what I mean. I don't know if I make myself clear. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, you're definitely always working. When I'm in the States, I usually get calls around 9 p.m. my time on the East Coast, which means you guys are always up in the middle of the night doing something, watching some video.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's start. We have one question that I was actually going to read anyways, because it's a great question. So, Stefan, if you want to jump on, turn your video on and ask yourself, feel free to here. If not, I can read your question, but I think it's a great addition to the scouting piece here. Okay, please read it. Okay, so Stefan says, if you are scouting a player that is going to make a big jump next season to your team, what do you look at in his game or character to know if he's going to integrate into the Italian First League? For example, if you're watching a player from the Cypriot League, how do you know if he's going to play well and adapt to the Italian League? And what are some of the main characteristics that you look for in players that are in the entry-level leagues like Cyprus, or another good example, like you said, Switzerland or Finland? Great question, Stefan.
I start just because I want to thanks for the question. Yeah, the main thing is because it depends on, obviously, if he's a guard, or if he's a wing, if he's a big man. But to speak overall, I would say the motor and is something that we mainly value. We give a value to the motor. I mean, how fast he can move, not just rim to rim, but in the spacing, filling the spaces on the court, at half court, and being versatile. The way he looks at teammates and they try to process the game at half court is something that has a big value. And obviously, if he shows that he has some upside in terms of touch, jumper, or good footwork, is something that you can think something you see him work at the next level, and usually is what we give the bigger value to, in my opinion.
Okay, our side and my side, basically the same. I want to add like something, obviously the intel of the player, but everybody looks the intel, and specifically about his career. For example, in which position his former teams finish in the standing. So if he has like a winning mentality, a winning story, there were some players. I remember historical player in the last decades of the Italian league, Jeremy Chappell. His teams went always to the playoff, always. 95% of the times, his team was going to the playoff. There are players who are maybe good, averaging good stats, but they finish always in the bottom of the standing with their team. So this is something very important. And in other two things, first is specificity. If we can do very good something, I don't know. You asked Stefan, and thanks again for the question about Cypriot League. This season, Treviso signed a guy, Paul Polycap from Cyprus. So perfect example, perfect fit. What he can do, he can rebound very well, he can roll very well, he can block shot, he has a high motor. Okay, it works. Somehow Treviso is not doing great things, but this guy is Mr. Double-Double in Italian League, and was very cheap deal for them. So this specificity, the doing something very good. And then personally, I have like my own software. I like using Synergy data, using Synergy leaderboards. I divide like all the players in using point per possession rate for each specific situation, like pick and roll ball ender, post up, coming off situation, and I use and like to scout numbers and advanced stats on players. So if, for example, for a certain amount of season, the same player has a very good rate in point per possession, I don't know, let's say in post-up defense committed, that it means all the situation in which from post-up there is a pass. This is something you can work on. Obviously, you have to scout and numbers with a lot of possession, and not just, I don't know, 10 possession and you make an evaluation. But this is what we are looking for. So his winning mentality and winning career, what he can do specifically, and advanced stats.
Yeah, more or less they cover.
Before you go, Mauro, just to touch on that, the winning mentality. So Jeremy Chappell has been winning for a long time. His last game, not his last game, but his last year in college was my first year in college. And he scored 25 points against us in the playoffs in my freshman year, and they beat us by like 30. So he's been winning for a long time.
He played for us. I mean, his last year in career, and after that he retired. You're talking about Jeremy Chappell, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he played for us. Yeah, and he was a kind of player that I was pushing since long time, and finally when they decide to sign, I say thanks God, because as Philo say, he's a winner. He's definitely a winner. He's a kind of player. I call him this kind of player. I call like a glue man, glue player, because he could do many things well. Many things well, nothing special, but many things well. Never take a step back on defensive side. Always ready to give, to bring energy on both sides of the game, and was a very happy sign at that time, for my opinion. And beside, they cover more or less everything. But I like really to know as much as I can about Intes, about his character. He's a problem maker, or how he used to live, how he used to handle on off the court. He's a difficult person, you know. If you have a nice environment, you have to take care who you bring in. If you already have somebody who needs to be handled on daily basis, you cannot bring another one who can give you a problem. You know? So you put together is like a bomb, okay? And I like to see, to analyze intangibles, you know, as the example for Polycarp is perfect, you know. And I don't, if a player used to score a lot, I want to see how much he won. Because, you know, if he likes to take a lot of shots, even if he's scoring in this kind of level, can his talent be transferred to our level? You know, first Italian league, where, you know, you have to win many reasons that we talked before, you know. Is he going still a scorer? Is he going to struggle? You know, the physicality in our league is higher than most of the other low-level league, you know, for sure. So it's not easy to take the risk to bring here, you know. Or he's a young player, so he can still has room to be educated to some kind of game. Okay, maybe you take him, you don't play him as a starter, you start from the bench, you know, you learn day by day, you know. But as we mentioned at the beginning, it's hard to make a program also on the player, you know. Back in the days, you could do on the young fellow, you know. You say, I sign you for 2 years, 3 years. I see you still have a lot of room to improve. In 3 seasons, you will be this level player. But now, after they play good 1 season, they go. You know, asking for a lot of money. They want to go Euro Cup to other countries where they offer a bunch of money. So it's difficult to make a program also on players, you know. That's why sometimes you go on specific kind of player. They might be average there, that level. You know what they give you as person, as player, and there are teams who prefer to pick up this kind of player, you know. But yeah, I think more or less we cover all the topics that help us to pick up the player.
For sure.
Kevin, Mauro was talking about glue guy. I see a question about John Petruccelli. So another glue guy, if you can read it, maybe Marco can answer.
For sure. So this question is, and I know there's a couple more in here, but this question is, what is your, well, we'll get to that one next. So I'm a big fan of John Petruccelli.
Okay,
can you share the story of how you discovered him and what qualities made him an ideal fit for Brescia? And actually, maybe a good point to cover, in addition to that, the citizenship, because that's obviously a big part of that.
I start from the end. First of all, the citizenship. It comes from a big work we did with his former agent, with the club of Brescia, and with John first himself. I say John himself because he has the willingness to go many times by himself in New York City with the long line, holding up. And you know, Kevin, how long it takes to collect documents for another citizenship. He has his grandfathers with the Italian roots, and he was able to respect all the process and go through many offices. And when he showed up with everything, I say we can build up a project to make him Italian, and this could be a turning point for his career. And this is something happened, first of all, because he was very solid and strong in his games and in his attitude. And for sure, he's a glue guy. What made me more happy when I was able to sign him was because from the very first time I watched him, and he was in G League, this is why, again, watching a player in many different environments and collecting notes about him in many different steps of his career is always useful at the end. is something that is turning point. The very first time I watched him live was in Orlando, I think Summer League. He was athletic. It was a kind of, I'm not saying too much, it was a kind of Alex Caruso. With less ball handling for sure, but the willingness, the determination, the intensity on defense was something big. And this story with the Division 3 scholarship, being a guy from nowhere in New York City and playing basketball higher and higher and higher, his story is big. And after that experience, I've noticed him in Europe, particularly, in Israel, and then particularly in Ulm, already at good level. The idea I had on him was that he was an underrated athlete and a real 3-and-D, which is something that very lately is, in my opinion, is interesting. It's a new trend to me. It's starting to disappear because the 3-and-D is something that was very important, main topic up to a couple of seasons ago, because everybody was looking to somebody able to shoot the ball and make a good defense. Now is trending to be not enough, because you always got to look for defensive players with versatility. But for example, for John himself, the next challenge is, has been lately in his Brescia process with us, has been try to learn to handle the ball more, because the game of basketball is looking for guys who can handle the ball, like Filippo was saying 10 minutes ago. And if you are just a defensive stopper or a shooter, you gotta be that thing, but it won't be 3-and-D. So it's more, is changing. So yeah, I mean, John has been always great with our organization, so he deserves everything, by the way.
Great. Thanks for answering that one. So I know we have a couple more here. Augusti, can you, I don't want to mess up your question. I think it's connecting like the fear of coaches losing their jobs to how much they control the game. If you would like to turn your camera on and ask, you can. But if not, then maybe I can try to read it, because I don't know if I fully understand, but I think you're trying to ask how connected is coaches' fear of losing their jobs to now wanting to control the entire process of the game. I hope I got that right. You can message if I got that wrong, but I don't know if anybody in particular has an experience with that. One of you guys want to take that one?
If it's a control, sometime happens something similar. I don't know if this is the answer of the question. There are coaches that, because they want or because they go in this direction, they to control all the organization, not just of the game or the club. And this is something that happens more and more, and I understand, because somehow I understand, because they are afraid that they want to control everything goes in the right way, or it goes in the right way for what is their point of view, because they are afraid that if something's wrong, that it's going to mess up his game, he's going to lose, and might going to lose the job as well. But from the other side, I think that the club should be able to guarantee to the coach to work in the right way, with the right pressure. Of course, you can work in this world without pressure, and making sure that don't worry about the game, if you lose the game or not. But club is club. Play, as somebody say, players and coaches, they are here today, and the next season they will go somewhere else when they find a better contract. So I think that the strength of the club has to be to build up with all the people work inside, to build up the right culture, the club culture, you know, to be able to have some kind of rules that everybody respect. And also when they pick a player and coach as well, or all the person that has to work inside the organization, gotta be somebody who can be on the same page with the club, you know, if this is the question. Okay, I talk about organization because of course the coach wants to be to have the control of the game. Okay, I think you hire a coach because he plays in this way, you like him, you help him to build up a team with such players that fit good on this system. But on the other side, you know, there are coaches that they say they want to get too large, they want to get probably too much power and control all the system, all the organization, which is something that, for my opinion, cannot be.
Oh, I think you're on mute, Filippo.
Oh, sorry. Okay, thank you, Kevin.
Tutto bene,
Let
tutto
me add
bene.
something. Tutto bene. Let me add something very quick. In my opinion, as overall, not only Europe, a successful team happens often when there is a big collaboration and a big confidence between the manager and the head coach. Let's say the GM and the head coach. What's the matter about what we were talking before? That in Europe, especially in Italy, we have no patience. Average, a coach stay in a club for 2.5 seasons, not more. If you go, so that's why it's reasonable sometimes. I don't want to defend coaches, but if you don't have a strong connection between you and your GM as a coach, you try to get the control, because you say, like, if I have to end up, I end up my way. I decide myself. I don't like die without deciding what to do. And so that's why these misunderstandings sometimes happen with coaches that want to over control the situation. And then I connect with another question I read from Yonut about post-game discussion after losses. But in my opinion, after losses or winning, no matter what, if there is a good connection between the general manager and the coach, maybe you do a brief discussion right after the game, especially for the press conference. So you share consideration about what you want to communicate to the external world. But about basketball-wise, it's better to hold on a little bit, refresh your mind, maybe rewatch the game during the night or the following morning, and then take decision, do consideration, talk to the player, and have reaction. This is my opinion. Quick discussion after for the press conference, and then stop for some hours, and then sleep on it and think about it the following day.
Great. Yeah, that was a great question. We got some more coming in here. Let's see. I know there was another one about scouting. We'll get to Pedro's in a second because we answered one of his. Temes Billones. As evaluation of players is super important for what you do, can you tell us an example of a great and of a bad evaluation of a player that you have done in the past? So who wants to jump to the stage and embarrass themselves on a bad evaluation first?
Guys, please, only great example for Octagon players, because Temi is asking the question, not for the bad one. This is the rule.
It's not an easy question. Nice question. It's not easy one.
Oh, okay, I go first. So I break the ice. I want to just be sure that I understood very well the question. Okay. Great. Okay, let's start. Bad evaluation. RJ Number last season. Player who played some games in the NBA, who was two-way who had the two-way contract and arrived in Italy straight from G League, was in Motor City, Detroit affiliated, and was completely a mess. It wasn't easy for a young guy who never came to Europe as a rookie to jump into a season, especially a bad season for the club. In my opinion, the guy had some qualities, but he didn't fit simply. And then he went to France, played just one game, good game, and got injured. This season started in Belgium, in Ostend, in BNX Steel League, and got cut again. I don't know why. The motor is good. The guy is kind. Wasn't just a very good fit, because our locker room last season was very tough, was very difficult to jump in. So we needed experience, and we were guilty to make it easy, no? Talented guy, young guy, fresh air, easy to jump in. Was a very bad decision, even because we paid the G League buyout for him and we paid a good salary. Good example, Jalen Reynolds. He came out from a good college career in Xavier, not huge, but okay. He ended up in third division Italy, Serie A2 Silver, at the time was third division Italy. They were last in the standing. The guy was putting up good numbers, but okay, he was considered like stupid guy as an Intel for many GM. And now he's in he's in Kazan in Russia, but he played many seasons in Euroleague, and he played 2 seasons for us, and was a very good evaluation. Okay, for a cheap guy, we signed like basically 3-4K per month.
It's up on me, I guess. Yeah, it's not easy. Good question. Thanks, Temis, for the question. I say good evaluation was. I like more to talk about the combination of players, because I remember always as big lesson I had at the beginning of my process when I put together at that time with a former big manager who is called Marco Tripaldi. When I was in Torino, he teach me the value of put together a good mixing up of players. To say that some player can be good in one environment and be bad in another one. At that time, we put together a team which was with a great mixture of veterans already for Europe, talking just about import. First of all, the domestic players were open to cooperate and work with import players, which is a key. Always fundamental key, having open mind domestic players first. And the main domestic player at that time was Pepe Poeta, who now is assistant coach in Milano with Messina. But the key players were, as I said, a mixing up of the veteran players like Chris Wright, Deron Washington, and DJ White, together with 2 new faces for Europe, who were like sophomore, like just with G League experience, Tyler Harvey and Jamil Wilson. That was a big lesson to me. Even if I was the guy who was in charge of suggesting names, the way how we put together the names was big, because it's always about personal goals, personal experience, and what we want to be, like putting everything together and try to build a common page. That can make the difference. To give you a bad value example, when I was in Trieste, I tried to do the same basically as idea in the season we ended up with COVID. I was not with the same sense of value, because I thought about the mixing up of veterans and young players, but I lost the physicality as I didn't put enough weight to physicality. So I put together on the backcourt with Dequan Jones, who is a great athlete, very competitive, athletic trait. I put together John Elmore and Cody Justice. I love them both. Probably they were not enough ready to play that kind of role, particularly John, who was really a rookie, first time experience overseas for him out of Marshall, when he was considered like a rock star there, putting him in Trieste, in combination with Cody, who is a solid player, IQ player, but putting them together, there was some lack of physicality, considering also who were the Italian guys, was too much. And I just thought at that time about the mixing up of experience, and I forget the physicality, which is always something that the import must have nowadays in our leagues.
Great question. Great question. And Mauro, if you want to add something, you can. But I guess, and maybe I'll add to Themis's question too, because Marco mentioned it. The process of thinking, will this player play well with the teammate, is, I think, overlooked a lot. Have you ever asked one of your players that either you just signed or maybe a player that's returning, like an import, like, hey, first of all, maybe ask some intel, but would you play well with this player? We're thinking about signing them. Like, did that ever happen with you, Mauro?
Personally, no. I mean, I think that probably our coach or coaches in the past, or the actual coach, when we talk about one player, he might go to let's say, to the vet or to the most important player of the team and talk about,
Right.
like, to say, what you think if we add somebody like this, or like him, that he can do this and this. Maybe you can, you can have some advantage to having somebody like him doing this and this for you, doing this and this for team as well. But as I say, personally, I did not. Okay. I go straight personally to the coach and to do the same example. Okay, coach, I like this kid. I think he can be a plus for us in this situation. What you think about it? Or you think it's going to affect too much in negative way our game, or is going to affect negative or positive for this guy? They might play together. Can they play together? What you think? Or cannot play together? So I share my opinion with the coach, actually. I cannot go to the player. I mean, might happen or it might will happen in the future. Maybe when you have a player that lasts for you for a long time, and maybe he can see him a little bit. I don't want to say more than just a player.
Yeah.
Because then I think it's important to have also the feedback from the player as well. The vet, the one who has more experience. You don't talk to him as a player. You talk to him like as
a leader,
as somebody who really loves a leader. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's right. So, and to go to the question, actually, for sure, I did. Let's say, pick in my mind some player that did not perform well for the club, but I think sometimes it's not just because the player was not at our level as a team, but probably because sometimes it was his first experience out of his country, his first experience playing at the higher level. Sometimes happened that didn't match well with the coach. Sometimes also coaches, we all make mistake on evaluation. So how many times coaches say, okay, I can play this guy, he can do this and this for me, but maybe he cannot do it. And you realize him after 1 month. Okay, and that happens sometimes. That after 1 month, 2 months, you see that you cannot stay in the same room with the kid, you know. I don't know how you say in English. So you cannot really play him, or he cannot really follow you in what you think is your game strategy, whatever. And you're gonna, as we say in Italy, we put a cross on him, you know, you don't play him anymore. You know, and in the same time, sometimes you got the right eye on somebody who came over and they had a great season and they last with you for 5, 6, 7 years. So I think that happened, but you can never know. I like to say that you evaluate, you sign a player, especially when they come from a successful path, for what they've been doing till now. But you cannot be sure 100% what's gonna happen from the day signed till the end of the season, because they are human beings, and everything can affect their mind during the daily life. You know, everything. Joking, we say, if his cat died, you know, it might be sad forever. You know, or if his girlfriend's gonna leave him, it might be sad. He's a human being. You know, and that's why it's very important to build up, to have an environment along the team that always ready to add that, you know. Always, sometimes you have to be the best friend, sometimes you have to be the older brother, sometimes you have to be the bad man who tells them something strictly to face, you know. You gotta be many different person, you know, but that's part of, I think, that means to be a good environment as well, you know. Be ready to do everything in order for the player to perform the best way as possible for you. All right.
Great. Yeah, we're really coming full circle here. Obviously, just wearing a lot of hats. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, you wear all those hats, and you have to be the good, as we say in the States, the good cop and the bad cop sometimes. And that's just how you have to be. Well, look, guys, I know I appreciate you staying extra late. I know we've been on for a long time here. I'm sure we could continue to have an amazing conversation for hours and hours and hours, but I know you have things to do, and I'm sure you have videos to watch and players to scout. So I really appreciate you coming on. I will, for everyone who's listening or watching the recording, I will be sending the link out so you can dive into some of this context later and learn and take notes, like all the notes that I just took. I know I learned a lot, so I appreciate you guys for coming on. Any last mentions, last topics you want to talk about? I mean, if you want to stay longer, I'm here. But yeah, any last mentions from you guys?
No, I want to just be thankful to you, Kevin, for the chance, and thanks everybody who was in. I'm open to discuss about basketball to anybody of you guys who want to talk further than here. And please follow Kevin, who deserves everything, because he's a great, passionate guy. So the main thing you have to remind is be passionate, because it's the only way to be safe in the business.
I agree with Marco.
Yeah. Thanks, Kevin. And if you, my side, I think also I'm talking also for Marco and Mauro. If we want to share our contacts with the other guys in the chat, my side would be really glad to raise my network, no, and to talk to people, and maybe okay, now the session is finished, but maybe we can stay in touch and keep us posted about everything, and it will be a great pleasure if you can do this for us.
For sure. Yeah.
It would be great.
If you guys,
would be great.
Yeah. If you guys are okay with it, I'll share your emails. I'll send out a mass email to all the participants, and I'll just share your emails so they can reach out if they have questions.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. Grazie mille. Thanks everyone for coming on. I appreciate your support, and we'll definitely be doing more of these roundtables here in the future. Guys, best of luck. We have top team, second place team, tied for third, fourth. You guys are going to be competing till the end there. So I'm not picking any sides. I want you all to win, and then I'll watch the championship. So
next time in Italian, Kevin.
Oh man, okay. I need some lessons first, but all I can say is tutto bene and grazie mille for now. But next time I'll learn some new words for you.
Grazie, ciao a tutti.
Thank you, Kevin. Ciao, ciao. Bye
Grazie.
bye.
Ciao.